1 year ago today, the BBC closed their young person's TV channel, BBC Three, reinventing it as an online video service. I consider this to be one of the worst things the BBC, this country's leading broadcaster, has ever done. As I've made clear in my previous two videos, BBC Three has brought us lots of great, varied programming throughout the 13 years it was on our screens, including comedy, drama, documentaries, festival coverage, and even women's sport. This channel was really relevant to us 16 to 35-year-olds, and it just kept delivering. However, the idiots who were running the BBC at the time had the genius idea of closing the BBC Three TV channel and moving it online, and the new management at the BBC that came near the end of 2015 just went with it. And don't claim that it was some budget cuts thingy, they just wanted to spend the money on other things, like localised iPlayer content, BBC Music Awards, BBC One drama programmes, extended CBBC hours, and other nonsense. As a TV channel, BBC Three brought us memorable, amusing, and in some cases insightful programming. As an online-only video service, they just make videos that are clear rip-offs of every YouTuber ever, and their full-length programs are just stupid. If I wanted to watch a man eat a cactus, or if I wanted to watch a lethal injection, I don't have to turn to the online-only BBC Three to watch such things. I can just look through the many videos already on YouTube that have these things. And don't get me started on the redesigned BBC Three logo. 2 lines and an exclamation mark? It sucks! A desperate attempt to be cool with the young lads of today. And no, as much as I love cartoons, the extended CBBC hours do not make up for BBC Three's closure, and it especially doesn't help that the redesigned CBBC logo is also awful. BBC, you gave us some really special programming through BBC Three, but now you've lost it. Not only have you reduced BBC Three to something cheap and ridiculous, you also let other broadcasters take the programming BBC Three had to offer. You let ITV take over Family Guy and American Dad, you let Sky One take over Don't Tell the Bride, and you let Channel 4 take over Women's Euro. 16 to 35-year-olds don't watch linear TV anymore? How come ITV2 and E4 are still going strong? Also, I thought BBC stood for British Broadcasting Corporation. By stopping one of your services from broadcasting, I think the BBC could be going down with a mild case of MTV syndrome. Don't know what MTV syndrome is? Look it up. You may also remember that BBC Three themselves were all for moving online and boasting about it like it's the best thing ever. You may also remember that we complained to them about it and they just didn't care. We flat out told them that we would just watch ITV2 and E4 instead of their online nonsense, and they begged us not to. Here is my Facebook post complaining about BBC Three moving online. Notice how I've made myself fully clear, and note their idiotic response. Well, considering the way they treated us, and that Family Guy and American Dad both moved to ITV2, and I'm sure some of the women's Euro 2017 coverage will be on E4 as well as Channel 4, it just gives us much more reason to watch these channels. As a final insult to us all, I heard that the BBC were even selling BBC Three HD's Freeview capacity to allow another broadcaster to launch a new HD channel on Freeview with the 9 PM to 7 AM hours. They can't sell the SD capacity due to some BBC Freeview regulation. To sell where BBC Three was in some state is just a big insult. We need BBC Three back as a TV channel. There was nothing like it. My flat-out boycott of the BBC with some exceptions. I did indeed watch last year's Sports Relief, Euro 2016 and Children in Need on the BBC. The Olympics I couldn't find on Eurosport, so I still had to turn to the BBC for that, and because I have fond memories of Irish puppets Zig and Zag, who I first saw on Channel 4 breakfast show The Big Breakfast when I was a kid, I did watch 2 episodes of the Zig and Zag cartoon CBBC introduced last year. And another thing, didn't I hear that BBC iPlayer would require a BBC account from some point this year? This will make it even harder to watch the BBC Three online service. I don't know about you, but I'd rather be able to just punch the number 7 on my TV remote than sign up for a BBC account. Also, why would I want to stream Little Britain and the Mighty Boosh to my iPhone, which requires Wi-Fi unless I want a data bill? I'd have to sell one of my kidneys in order to pay in full, when both shows have been released on UMD and can be watched anytime, anywhere on a PSP, no internet connection needed. While I cannot forgive the BBC for moving BBC Three online, maybe I have been a bit harsh by almost never watching any of their channels ever again. I still pray for the day BBC Three returns to our TV screens, yet I may start watching CBBC again regardless if they introduce a new logo that looks good, retiring the awful current logo they introduced shortly before gaining their extra 2 hours daily airtime. And I may start watching BBC Two's news comedy show, Mock the Week, again as soon as Donald Trump ceases to be President of the United States. But still, as I said at the end of my previous 2 videos on this subject, if the BBC won't care about how we feel about BBC Three having moved online, why should we care about how they feel on this subject?